Brian Almon is at the Capitol today. Hopefully he's feeling well. Brian, good to see you, my friend. I am so jazzed that this bill is headed to the governor, but how shocked are you at the giant the giant mess up of Lori McCann replying all and letting everybody know that what her intentions are about trying to whip votes to get this bill vetoed?
I saw that drop last night, and I I keep wanting the best for everybody. That's just my nature, and some people just keep disappointing me.
You had high hopes for Ms. McCann?
I always want to give people the opportunity to do the right thing,
Yes.
and then a lot of people just continually do the wrong thing, as in the case here. I don't understand it, but yeah, we need our people to keep calling and remind the governor that these rights matter, and we don't want to see another replay of what happened 5 years ago.
No, we certainly don't. And I think what was so brilliant about this bill, Brian, was that they took the Coronavirus Stop Act, which was all about, protecting us against, the ridiculousness of what happened during coronavirus. But because the statute literally said coronavirus and alluded to COVID-19,
Mhm.
that meant that should something else happen, the government could do everything the same. And we'd be sitting there going, wait, why? I thought we banned this. I thought, no. We didn't ban it for we didn't
This
ban
is
it for
COVID
swine flu.
26.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Or COVID-26. Exactly. So, and I don't know if you caught this, but when Rob Beiswinger stood up to present the bill, he's like, this is a cleanup bill.
Yeah,
Cleaning up.
it's a great opportunity to take a very bad incident, a very bad time, a very bad situation where a lot of things went wrong and people made wrong choices, and use that for good to say, okay, well, we've learned some lessons. Now going forward, we will be protecting your medical rights, your bodily autonomy.
Yeah, and the argument against the businesses, I understand the argument. We can't be telling businesses what to do. Dan Foreman stood up and says we tell businesses what to do all the time, but when you really dial it in, what we're talking about is a business cannot mandate these medical interventions. And I went through the list of in the bill of what a medical intervention is, and I mean we're talking about like procedures, we're talking about like injections. I mean these are like serious things. We're not talking about just saying like, oh, please wear a shirt when you come into the please no shoes, no service kind of thing. Like that's still out there. That's not a
Yeah.
medical intervention. Even
Right.
a mask, probably, right?
Yeah, that's starting to get into a gray area. But
Right.
as when you have people who have been employed in a place and they rely on it for their job, and things are going a certain way, and then suddenly the company says, "Well, you've got to get this injection, or you're fired," as so many businesses did with pressure from the government, and so many, the military did that, and that would turned out, as the Trump administration is now showing, that was wrong and needs to be atoned for.
Yeah, and I probably 5 years ago I don't think it would have ever dawned on anybody that the business would require one of their employees to get a vaccine or to be when it doesn't really affect their job. It's not like they're a
Right.
doctor or something like that. But if you're just working at McDonald's or you're working at a lumber yard and they're like, you have to go get this medical procedure done, otherwise you can't work here. Like you almost want to say to yourself, like, how does where in the psyche of even the most like libertarian, like all rights for everybody, we it's my property, I should be able to dictate whatever, but to dictate that somebody should go get some sort of gene therapy or some sort of injection, it seems so draconian.
Yeah, it's I completely forgot where I was going with that. There's a protest going on down here underneath the window, and it keeps distracting me. But yeah, a lot of that was actually because of government intervention as well. Businesses were afraid that if they didn't mandate these things, then they would be fined, they would be shut down. So you remove that and tell them, hey, you just can't do that anymore. I think things are going to be a lot better.
Yeah, I was saying earlier that I think this actually gives cover for businesses
Right.
as well. So that
Incentivize them to do the right thing. Give them space to do the right thing instead of pushing them to do the wrong thing.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, well, we're going to keep on it for the rest of the episode here, but I do want to. What's going on? What's so distracting there at the Capitol? Let's give us an update of what's going on there, and then
There's
also
a
what else you're tracking.
Well, so as you know, Governor Little signed House Bill 345 yesterday or the day before, and that was a reform of Medicaid and Medicaid expansion. It doesn't get rid of it. It doesn't eliminate coverage for anybody, but the left and the Democrats are absolutely freaking out. The Democratic Party put out press releases saying that Little's taking away all their rights and all their benefits, and so there's a crowd out here. It looks like 100 people or so who are with a bunch of pre-made, pre-printed signs, which is always interesting. Uh, Talking about Medicaid and protecting Medicaid. And there's a few other interesting signs. I've been tweeting them over on my Twitter account, some of the more interesting ones I see. Yeah, but that's kind of ironic, isn't it? That you get oh, I wonder if I went down to this crowd and did a survey, how many people would support the Medical Freedom Act? Because I'll bet these are two separate, completely separate circles on the Venn diagram here of people who want to um, you know, support Medicaid and make sure that there's no changes to those benefits, and then the people who want to protect the medical freedom of individuals. It just seems to align completely opposite there.
Yeah, it's almost like there's a new paradigm in our, we it's not necessarily that left became right and right became left. It almost seems like the old school Democrats, are who love liberty have started moving to the right because there's this shift of this basically Marxist communists. They just love the state and they want everything to be taken care of by the state. Like it really is this shift where it's not necessarily a flip flop. It's more of this, like this, the head of this giant snake coming in to like squash our liberties and such. And then you have, folks like Lori McCann and Stephanie Joe Mickelson standing up, and Britt Raybould standing up and being such nanny staters. I don't, because they weren't for modifying Medicaid as well. If I'm correct.
Um, yeah, it's they want, people seem to think that the government or the taxpayer should be paying for everything, and then it's like there's some acceptance there or some desire even to be controlled, to say, get the mask, get the vaccine, bake the cake, do what do whatever we say, and you'll be happy and you'll be satisfied. It's a slave mentality.
It really is. It is a slave mentality. Yeah. All right, Almon, what are you working on? What are you paying attention to there?
Oh goodness! Well, the more of that moving rules into statute. There's still some disagreement on the importance of that, if that's a good idea or a bad idea, but it's going on. I was just in the House gallery. They passed the maintenance budget for Medicaid. Ironically, as these people are protesting outside, they passed the budget. Representative Tanner was able to trim about 3% off that budget, which for a $5 million or $5 billion budget is a good chunk. But some people still said it wasn't enough and we need more. The House did actually kill two budgets while I was there, two of the maintenance budgets. Or not the maintenance budgets, the enhancement budgets, the ones that come on top of the maintenance budgets. So
Right.
that tells me that JFAC has their work cut out for them, and we might be here a while.
Yeah, that's right. Well, they don't necessarily need to do any expansion. I mean, they could leave without doing any of the extras if that maintenance portion was already sent through.
Yeah, I'd like to see that.
Yeah, real quick on this rules to statute thing. I'm just an average guy, right? And I'm just trying to we're just trying to direct this signal and making sure people understand what's going on. But here's my understanding. Correct me where I'm wrong, but here's my understanding of this whole rules to statute thing is that the legislator will pass laws directing agencies to, carry out certain tasks. Mm-hmm. And then the agencies will go there, interpret the law, and write the rules. And the rules that you and I have to follow if we're going to engage in that agency's service. Now, if those rules they basically have the same effect as law. So If I violate a rule, then I could be, held accountable for violating that rule the same way I would be held accountable if I violated a law. There are many rules out there. We see this at the federal level. There are many rules out there that are either just, for lack of a better term, stupid rules or draconian or just flat out wrong or whatever. And so in order to change the rules, one of the tactics that it looks like the legislature is doing is let's make those rules, let's turn them into statute, into law, then we can change them. because it's much easier for us to just change the law than it is to change an agency's rules or to redefine or to go into the nitty gritty and do that stuff, right? Is that the basic understanding?
Basically, yes. There's also the philosophical idea of reclaiming the legislative power. If you read our national constitution, our state constitution, the political philosophers that our founders read, Montesquieu and such, the separation of powers is important. The legislative branch should make law. The executive branch carries it out. Well, the legislative branch keeps delegating that power. They say, well, we want to accomplish this, and we'll leave the details to you being the governor or the heads of these agencies. And then they come back with those rules. And Idaho's in a pretty good position in that we have legislative review of rules. When they want a new rule, it has to pass both chambers and be passed by concurrent resolution. However, getting rid of a rule, an existing rule from the past, requires the same process. So that's a pretty high bar. So moving them into statute not only returns, philosophically the power to make laws where it belongs, but it also puts those laws, as Senator Lenny said during his debate yesterday, it takes them from a hard to reach place and puts them in within reach so that the legislature can adjust that. And we just saw that yesterday with Senator Blaylock introduced a bill to actually change some of the law that has now come out of the rules to broaden the exemptions for some newborn blood screenings. And that's what they can do. And we'll see next year if they actually start taking advantage of that ability to go in and change some of these longstanding rules.
Yeah, and then I guess there's always the strategy, like how to do it. I know that there was at least one bill dealing with foster care that there was a rule, and they didn't like, the legislators didn't like the rule, and so they wanted to change the rule. But rather than just codify the rule in statute, when they went to go do that, they changed the language as well. So they kind of did it in one fell swoop. And so I imagine that you may be able to do that for all of the rules that you want to codify into statute, or you got to pick and choose which ones you want to have those battles with, because there might be a battle. So I think there's many different strategies here, but it all sounds like as long as the legislature is the one reclaiming the ability to pass laws, this sounds like it's not necessarily a bad thing.
I think it's a good idea. I know there's other opinions out there, and they could speak for themselves, but I think this is a good thing and a good process that we're seeing happen right now.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, let's jump out of those weeds. Let's get back to what excites people, which is protecting our civil liberties. Almon, tell everybody where we can find you and what what your next columns are on.
I'm not sure what I'm writing about next. I'll, maybe some of these budgets that they're working on and killing on the House floor. That's an interesting thing. So gemstatechronicle.com.
Also, Gem State Brian. Did we lose him? Looks like we cut him out just in time.
Oh,
there you are. We're losing your feed. We're losing your feed, but we got your website up, and we'll make sure
it's the aura from all these protesters, I think.
All right. Well, good luck, my friend. Godspeed.
All right.
All right. We'll see you tomorrow. All right. Very good. All right. Let's take a quick break, and we'll wrap up.
And that's exactly what happened. You want to pull the tape? You can pull the tape because we now got video.